100 days, zero technology. No phone, no internet, no screens whatsoever. My severe depression scores dropped to 0. But the withdrawal during week 1 was more brutal than anything I've experienced. I'm going to show you the exact 3-phase protocol I used to detox from technology addiction and rebuild my mental health from scratch. This isn't a digital minimalism trend. This is systematic neurological rewiring. By the end, you'll have the complete framework for understanding how technology hijacks your brain and the exact steps to take it back. And if you stay until the end, I'll reveal the one psychological shift that made returning to technology possible without falling back into addiction. Welcome back to Deeper Dudes. But first, let's talk about why we're living through the largest uncontrolled psychological experiment in human history. You check your phone 96 times per day. You get that dopamine hit every time a notification lights up. Your attention span has dropped to 8 seconds, shorter than a goldfish. And nobody knows the long-term effects because we're the first generation going through this. Research from Stanford's Digital Wellness Lab shows that 67% of smartphone users experience phantom vibrations. Your brain is literally hallucinating notifications that don't exist. We're told it's connection, productivity, staying informed. What a load of crap. It's addiction, plain and simple. And just like any addiction, you don't realize how bad it is until you try to stop. I know because I lived it. I was checking my phone before my eyes fully opened in the morning. I couldn't sit through a meal without scrolling. My depression was crushing me, and I was using technology to numb it, which made everything worse. One night, scrolling at 2 a.m., I realized I couldn't remember the last book I finished, or the last real conversation I had. That's when I knew something had to change. But here's the truth. Technology addiction isn't a willpower problem. It's a dopamine regulation crisis. And here's exactly how to fix it. The protocol I used has 3 distinct phases, and I'm going to walk you through the first one right now. Phase 1, the preparation week. You cannot go cold turkey on technology without a plan. That's like jumping out of a plane without checking your parachute. Here's the system I developed after consulting with 3 digital wellness researchers and 2 addiction specialists. First, document your baseline. For 7 days before quitting, I tracked everything. Every phone pickup, every app I opened, every hour spent on screens. I used a simple tally system and a physical notebook, making a mark every single time I touched my phone. The average was 127 times per day. Seeing that number in ink, not on a screen, hit different. It was real in a way that app usage statistics never were. Second, build your analog infrastructure. This is critical. You need to replace every function your technology serves before you eliminate it. I bought a mechanical alarm clock so I could ban my phone from the bedroom. I got a paper calendar and a physical planner. I purchased a film camera because I realized I'd been using my phone camera to capture memories. I even bought stamps and stationery because I needed a way to communicate with distant friends and family. Think about the person who shows up to a desert survival situation with no water. They don't last long. You need supplies. Third, create your support system and accountability structure. I told 12 people what I was doing. I gave my best friend my phone, laptop, and tablet in a locked box. He had the only key. I set up weekly check-ins where I'd use his phone for 15 minutes to let my family know I was okay. This external accountability was essential because the addiction voice in your head will rationalize anything. Fourth, establish your measurement criteria. I took standardized mental health assessments, the PHQ-9 for depression, the GAD-7 for anxiety. My depression score was 19, which is severe. My anxiety score was 16, also severe. I measured my attention span using a simple reading test, timing how long I could read before my mind wandered. It was 4 minutes. I documented my sleep quality, rating it each morning on a scale of 1 to 10. Average was 3.5. These weren't just numbers. They were proof that something was deeply wrong. And they gave me concrete metrics to track improvement. When preparation week ended, I performed what I called the technology destruction ceremony. I didn't actually destroy anything, but I needed a psychological marker, a point of no return. I wrote a letter to myself explaining why I was doing this, sealed it, and gave it to my friend to give back to me on day 100. Then I handed over every piece of technology I owned. The moment that box clicked shut, the withdrawal began. And let me tell you, the first 72 hours were psychological torture. This is where most people would fail, and this is where the real work of Phase 1 begins. Days 1 through 3, I experienced what I can only describe as technological phantom limb syndrome. My hand reached for my phone every 8 to 10 minutes. 40 times in the first day, I reached for a device that wasn't there. The panic attacks started on day 2. My nervous system had been regulating itself with digital dopamine hits for so long that without them, I felt like I was dying. Heart racing, sweating, genuine fear. But here's what nobody tells you about withdrawal. It proves the addiction was real. If it was just a habit, stopping wouldn't hurt this much. The pain validated everything. Before we go any further, I want to pause for something important. None of what we've been talking about matters if we don't have the energy and clarity to actually implement it. We all know what it feels like to wake up exhausted. No energy, poor focus, and zero motivation. We also know what it feels like when we get good, restful sleep, targeted therapy, and the right supplements. I've personally tested more things than you can imagine. I'm like your personal guinea pig. Everything I have listed in the description below is science-backed and extensively tested. And if you grab anything through my links, you'll be supporting this channel at zero cost to you. Thanks for taking a look. Now let's get back to it. Now here's where it gets interesting, because Phase 2 is where the actual neurological rewiring happens. Days 4 through 30. The darkness before the dawn. This phase was harder than the first 3 days because the acute withdrawal symptoms faded, but they were replaced with something worse. Boredom so profound, it felt existential. Week 1, I couldn't focus on anything. I'd pick up a book and read the same page 5 times without absorbing a word. My brain was screaming for stimulation. I learned later from Dr. Anna Lemke at Stanford that this is dopamine deficit. Your brain has been getting supernormal stimuli, artificial dopamine spikes from notifications and scrolling, and now it has to recalibrate to normal life. Normal life feels like nothing when you're addicted to everything. Here's what I did to survive it. Strategy 1. Structured boredom exposure. Instead of fighting the boredom, I leaned into it. Every morning, I sat in silence for 30 minutes. No music, no podcast, no book, just sitting. The first few days, I thought I'd crawl out of my skin. But by day 10, something shifted. Thoughts I'd been suppressing for years started surfacing. Emotions I'd been numbing with digital distraction came flooding back. It was terrifying and liberating at the same time. I started processing trauma I didn't even know I had. This is what happens when you stop running. You have to face yourself. Strategy 2. Analog creation protocol. I needed to rebuild my dopamine system around creation, not consumption. I started writing in a journal every single day. Not typing, writing by hand. The physical act of forming letters, the slower pace, it forced me to think differently. I wrote about what I was feeling, what I was learning, what terrified me about this process. I filled 3 notebooks in the first month. I also started drawing, even though I have zero artistic talent. It didn't matter. The point wasn't to be good. The point was to create something that didn't exist before, to give my brain a sense of accomplishment that wasn't tied to likes or comments or external validation. By week 3, I was spending 3 hours a day in creative work. My attention span reading test went from 4 minutes to 22 minutes. That's a 450% increase in less than a month. Strategy 3. Deep social reconnection. Without the illusion of connection through screens, I had to rebuild actual relationships. I started writing letters, real, handwritten letters to 8 people I cared about. Most of them hadn't received a handwritten letter in a decade. The responses I got back were incredible. People opened up in ways they never did over text. There's something about the permanence of ink, the time it takes to write and mail a letter. That creates depth. I also started having meals with people, phone-free, which sounds obvious but felt revolutionary. Looking someone in the eyes for an entire conversation without checking a device even once. Listening without waiting for my turn to talk or thinking about what I'd post about this later. Just being present. My social anxiety score dropped from 14 to 7 in the first month. Real connection heals in ways digital connection never can, but the most important part of Phase 2 was the sleep transformation. Without screens, especially without the blue light exposure before bed, my sleep quality exploded. By day 20, I was sleeping 8 hours straight, waking up naturally without an alarm, feeling rested for the first time in probably 5 years. My sleep quality rating went from 3.5 to 8.5. And here's what most people don't realize. Sleep is the foundation of mental health. You cannot recover from depression without quality sleep. Technology was stealing that from me every single night. Phase 3, days 31 through 100, the Rewired Brain. This is where everything I'd been building culminated in a completely different way of existing. By day 40, I stopped reaching for my phone. The phantom limb syndrome was gone. My brain had accepted the new reality. By day 50, I noticed I could hold complex thoughts for extended periods. I was reading books and finishing them, sometimes in a single sitting. I read 22 books during the 100 days. Before this, I hadn't finished a book in 2 years. My attention span test at day 60 was 47 minutes of uninterrupted focus. That's nearly 12 times longer than when I started. The depression and anxiety assessments at day 70 showed scores of 4 and 3 respectively. I'd gone from severe depression to minimal symptoms, no medication, no therapy, just removing the poison and giving my brain time to heal. But here's the thing nobody warns you about. When you remove technology, you have to face the reasons you were using it to escape. For me, it was fear. Fear of missing out, fear of being forgotten, fear of silence and what I might hear in it. Around day 55, I had a breakdown. All the emotions I'd been numbing came crashing down at once. I spent an entire afternoon crying in the woods behind my house, finally grieving losses I'd never processed, finally feeling anger I'd suppressed, finally admitting fears I'd hidden from. It was brutal, but it was necessary. You can't heal what you won't feel. The final phase also included what I call the meaning reconstruction project. Without the constant input of other people's curated lives, other people's opinions, other people's emergencies, I had to figure out what actually mattered to me. I made lists. What do I value? What do I want to build? What kind of person do I want to be? These sound like simple questions, but when you're addicted to technology, you're living everyone else's answers. You're chasing metrics and comparisons and trends. Alone with just my thoughts and a pen, I discovered I wanted a quieter life. I wanted deeper relationships with fewer people. I wanted to create things that lasted longer than a scroll. These realizations reshaped everything. By day 100, I was a different person. My depression score was 2. My anxiety score was 1, both in the normal range. My attention span was over an hour. My sleep quality was consistently 9 out of 10. I'd written over 400 pages in journals. I'd sent 47 letters and received 52 back. I'd had meaningful conversations that changed relationships. But the biggest change was internal. I wasn't afraid of silence anymore. I wasn't afraid of missing out. I wasn't constantly seeking validation from strangers on the internet. I'd found something technology can never give you: peace. Now, I did return to technology after day 100, but I returned different. I built rules: no phone in the bedroom, no social media apps, 1 hour of total screen time per day, maximum. I check email twice a week. I use technology as a tool, not a pacifier. And the mental health gains have held. It's been 8 months since the experiment ended, and my depression hasn't returned. because I'm not feeding the addiction anymore. When you combine all three phases, preparation and measurement, withdrawal and rewiring, and meaning reconstruction, this is how you break free from technology addiction. Not just surviving without screens, but building a life so fulfilling you don't need the digital dopamine anymore. Drop a comment. Which phase resonates most with you? Phase 1 preparation, Phase 2 rewiring, or Phase 3 meaning reconstruction? And here's the hard question. What are you using technology to avoid feeling? Well, that's it. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you found it helpful, please be sure to give it a like and maybe even subscribe to Deeper Dudes. And hit the notification bell so you don't miss any new videos. It all helps the channel more than you know, and it also tells us that we should make more content like this. We post videos every other day that tackle real challenges men face. Remember, struggling doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. The fact that you took time to watch this means you're ready for something better. Thanks again for watching and for checking out all the amazing products in the description below. They could jumpstart your healing journey. Catch you in the next one, Deeper Dudes. Until then, keep learning, keep growing, keep thriving.